All right. Hi, everybody. I'm sorry for starting a couple minutes late. I had some technical difficulties. I accidentally started the webinar with my Spotify going crazy. And so I got it taken care of, but then I shut down the webinar. I needed to reset some stuff up. So all is good in the technical cyber world today. My kitties are going a little nuts too. There must be something going on. But I'm really excited to have you all here. So for those who don't know me, and maybe this is our first time meeting, I am Steph Cook and I am a career and lifestyle coach. And I help women who are driven and who really want to make an impact in the world, but who are feeling like they're not living up to their full potential. You know, I think that success is the full package, and it's not just about having a career that you love. I think that's really important, but that's not all that life is cracked up to be. We also want to have like really engaging and intimate relationships. We want to be healthy and happy, and we want to be at maybe our ideal weight and being comfortable in our bikinis, right? And success is about all of that, in my opinion. And I'm really excited to be having this talk with you today because we're going to be talking a lot about success and kind of about what we've been taught success should look like. And, you know, I think most of us have probably realized by this point, like, that doesn't feel like success. So today I'm going to be sharing my top 5 things that you can do, or the top 5 things that I learned when I jumped off the corporate ladder. And I think that it will be really beneficial for you. I've got really some great insight into, you know, building a career and a life that you love. So before I get started doing that, I just want to remind you that I'm going to be doing a live Q&A at the end of the call. So you want to make sure to stay on to get your questions answered. And that reminds me, let me make sure I turn our Q&A box on. So hopefully you should see it. If you don't, there should be like a little bar at the bottom that says like engage in questions, and you can go right over there and click to make that happen. All right. So as we're getting started, I want to share with you my story. You know, how the heck did I get here? You maybe found me on Facebook. Maybe you have been on my email list for a while and you're like, what is this girl all about? So I'm going to tell you. And for those of you who were on last week, this will be a little bit of a recap, but it's always good. It helps us get to know each other a little bit better, right? So I am trained as an engineer. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in engineering, and I worked in environmental consulting for about 6 years out of college. I was totally career driven at that time. I really wanted to make an impact in the world. You know, I had this kind of burning desire to do something really worthwhile. And so, you know, I poured my heart and soul into my job and worked my ass to the bone, working 60, 80 hours a week, and ultimately felt stressed, burnt out, chronically unhealthy. I mean, all of the things that you don't want to feel in a job that you're working so hard for, that's where I was at. And, you know, to top that all off, you know, I wasn't confident in my body. I'd put on weight. I wasn't sleeping well. I was living off of, you know, Starbucks lattes, which are still my favorite, but, you know, maybe not multiple a day, and living off of takeout pizza and Cliff Bar. So totally hopped up on sugar and caffeine and all of that stuff. And not to mention that at the time, you know, I didn't realize it because I was so heads down in getting to the next level and being successful that I didn't realize that my marriage was falling apart. My husband told me later that he had actually thought about leaving me at that time if I hadn't made a change. And hearing that was really, really hard. I'm going to be honest, but it also is this huge eye-opening moment because I realized, you know, like, thank God I made the right choice to make a change when I did. And as we're talking today, I want you to think about, you know, what are your values and what's important to you? And are you really serving those things in your life with the way that you're living right now? If you're not, don't freak out. We've all either been there or we're going through that now. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to feel bad about, but it's definitely a sign that something in your life needs to change. So if you're here watching this and recognizing that something needs to change, kudos for you for taking the first step. Really exciting. And I am really excited to be part of that journey with you. So anyway, really stressed out, hating work, hating life, marriage falling apart, putting on weight, health declining, the whole thing. So I woke up one day and I was like, this is not what it's about. Like, this just is not what I want. Like, if this is what it means to be successful, I'm done. I can't do this. So I quit my job and I ended up job hopping for the next about 4 years almost. And I had, I think 5 different jobs over the span of that time in a variety of different industries. I mean, I really was hopping. And what I am sharing today is kind of the culmination of kind of the lessons that I learned along the way. And there are a whole host of things that I learned in this journey. But one of the biggest things that I want to share with you guys is that the really exciting thing about this is that I've made all the mistakes and I've done all of this kind of exploration and spent 3 years investigating it and figuring stuff out. And now, I can give you all the information and you don't have to go through that same journey I did. We can get you to a better place in a much shorter time frame, which is really, really awesome. So I want to just dive right in and start sharing these top 5 things that I have for you. So let's start with number 1. And number 1, we kind of touched on last week if you were able to join the webinar last week as well. So number 1 is about, a job is never going to make you happy. You have to actively choose to be happy. And you have to step into a place where you are taking control of your life and your choices. It's like, you're not getting on this easy peasy path anymore and just kind of going through the motions. Like, if you want that for yourself, if you want to just kind of go through the motions and that to be you, probably you can stop listening right now because this really isn't for you. But if you're wanting something more, if you're wanting to break out and do something more, you have to take ownership of that process. Step into that space, own it, be really proud of it, and, kind of scream from the rooftops, like, this is my opportunity to change my life. And how exciting that I am actually in the driver's seat. I think for many of us, this can be a completely different feeling because we've kind of been told what to do our whole lives. I know that was the case for me, right? Like, be a good girl, do good in school, go to a good college, get a good job, and on and on and on. And I did all those things, but all those things weren't making me happy. And it's because I wasn't choosing them. They were being chosen for me. Right? So that is number 1. And along with that, we talked about this last week as well. We got to drop that victim mentality. So I think probably there are people who are listening in who are feeling like, oh, yeah, I know, but I just have this job and I can't leave, and I'm trapped there because I have bills to pay, and I have to do it. I have a family to support. Like, that's reality. I get that, but that doesn't mean that you can't choose something different. It might mean that your path looks different than someone else, but you can still step into a space where you can actively choose it. Being a victim in this process is not going to support you in any way whatsoever. So drop that victim mentality and step into that space of ownership and be really excited about it. This is an exciting time. And I'm going to pause right there because last week, if you were watching, I pulled a desire map card from my Truth Bomb deck. If you're not familiar with Danielle Laporte, check her out. I love her. And the card that I pulled for us today is Be the Exception. And I keep holding it up like you're going to be able to read it, but, you can't. So I'm just going to tell you what it says. Be the exception. And I think that that is so appropriate for this first lesson. It's like, you can go through the motions and you can do what you've been told to do, and you can do the things because they're what everyone else is doing, or you can choose to be happy for yourself and you can choose to make a change in your life, and you can be the exception. You don't have to be that person just going through the motions. So really awesome, really exciting first step. The next thing, so this is a lesson that I took from Lean In, for those of you who have read Lean In. It's, and if you haven't, definitely check it out. This was probably my favorite takeaway from the book, and I think because it speaks to my personal experience so well. And I'm going to read you the direct quote from Lean In so that you can, so I don't mess it up. So Cheryl says, ladders are limiting. People can move up or down, on or off. Jungle gyms offer more creative exploration. There's only one way to get to the top of a ladder, but there are many ways to get to the top of a jungle gym. The ability to forge a unique path with occasional dips, detours, and even dead ends present a better chance for fulfillment. So really, really cool. Totally my experience as well. And I want to share with you, the workforce and the way that we work is changing so rapidly now that we're in this digital age, right? We can literally work from anywhere at any time. I'm working now in yoga pants. You can't really see them, but, and when our parents were working, that wasn't really a reality for most people, but it can be for you if that's something that you want, right? I'm just using that as an example. But working 40 hours a week at a desk is like the old mentality. The new mentality of work is totally different, right? So this opportunity to really be creative and explore really sets you up for success in this new workforce model that we're going through, which is awesome. I can share from my own experience, right? So I jumped around from job to job, and I really had the opportunity to try out a lot of different things and experiment and find what I liked and what I didn't like. And what that did was give me the opportunity to develop some really unique skills and some really unique talents that I wouldn't have otherwise if I, for example, had stayed at the same job the entire time. Now, for me, working in environmental consulting, there's not a lot of room to kind of grow in that capacity to develop different skills, I guess I would say. But this doesn't mean that you necessarily need to quit your job. You can look for opportunities to cross-train with other employees to learn more about their role, and they can learn more about yours. You can ask to be working on different projects, or look at different roles that are available within your company. So the opportunity for growth doesn't just mean leaving your job. You can do that in a variety of different ways. But the point is that it's not just like get a job and climb up the ladder anymore. It's, get a job, develop some skills here, get another job, develop some more skills, and then go up and go this way. And it can look totally different now. It's not just a clear linear path. And I have to be honest with you, people ask me this all the time. Has your job hopping hurt your career prospects? And you might think, well, she's a coach, so she doesn't really work anymore. But I also still do consulting work because I enjoy it. And I have found that my background and the diversity in my background is very interesting to people. People call me up all the time and say, like, I just looked at your resume and like, I'm really intrigued. Tell me about all these different things that you've done and like how you've had this experience. And, I think that you could fit really well in this role, or like, I really like that you have these kind of dual experiences. And so it's made me a lot more marketable than I would have guessed, because I'll be honest, I was fearful as well, but it's really helped me. And I think, again, when we're looking at the workforce and when we're looking at resume skills and resume builders, and when you're looking for a job, when you submit your resume, you're like one of hundreds, thousands, who knows, right? So you need to be able to stick out. And when you have experience doing the same damn thing at the same damn place for however many years, there's nothing unique about you. So use this opportunity to create some unique experiences and some unique skills, right? That will really benefit you as you are creating this career and job life that you love. So that is tip number 2. moving along in my notes here. So the next one, a really awesome tip, is to really hone in on your unique skills and talents. And this comes from a book by Marcus Buckingham. It's called Know Your Strengths. And if you have never heard of it, I would encourage you to go out and buy the book. When you buy the book, you don't even necessarily need to read the book. You can, if you manage people or you aspire to manage people or you just really want to understand how people tick, read the book because it's interesting. But what happens when you buy the book is you get a little code and you can do their assessment, and it will give you your top 5 unique strengths, which is really cool. And one of the things that Marcus Buckingham says in the book is that, we so often spend all this time and all this energy on improving our weaknesses. And that is really such a waste because our weaknesses will never, there are weaknesses. We'll just never get great at them, right? Like maybe we might be okay, but the real ticket, the real money, the real impact is in developing your strengths, right? Leveraging your strengths in different ways. So an interesting take on that, right? I think we've all probably been in a performance review at our job where your boss will sit you down and say, oh, you did good in X, Y, and Z, but you didn't do so well in this section right here. So I think we need to come up with an improvement plan for you about how you can do better next year. And how different would the conversation be if instead the conversation was, I saw you do really awesome in A, like I want to plug you into these other 4 things that you can really leverage your strengths in those ways. And yeah, we might work on your weaknesses a little bit, but let's really highlight your strengths. Unfortunately, the management culture doesn't really think like that yet, but that doesn't mean that you can't do that for yourself. So as an example, when I looked at my strengths, one of my strengths is learning. I love the process of learning. It's not just about being knowledgeable or knowing certain things. It's like I really love the actual learning process. And so when I'm looking for roles, I look for roles where there's an element of learning that I have to do to really get up to speed. Whether it's learning a new tool, learning how to develop new reports, whatever that might be, I look for opportunities to be able to use that skill in the roles that I take on. So for you, whatever your strengths are, you can look at ways to use them to really boost your impact and your productivity. So a really cool kind of take on something that we've been doing completely wrong for forever. So check out the book, Know Your Strengths, Marcus Buckingham. It's a really great tool. Next, this might be my favorite one. I don't know. I can't decide. The next one, for me, when I was working as an engineer and I was dabbling with different things, I was always looking for that next thing. So, when I was working full time, then I was like, oh, I think I need a master's degree to get ahead. So let me get my master's part-time. And then while I was getting my master's, I was thinking, should I get a PhD next? Should I write papers? What should I do next? And then I was thinking, how about my professional engineering license? And it was always the next thing. I was always just going for the next thing. I wasn't present in the now and appreciating the now that I was in. And so that is my biggest takeaway, or my number 4 takeaway when I jumped off the corporate ladder. It's what I realized, right? It's not about not setting goals or not aspiring for growth or aspiring to be a better person and a bigger person, but it is about really appreciating where you're at now and really engaging in where you're at right now. I think, it's easy to recognize when you step back that when you do things and you're distracted like that, whether you're distracted by thinking about the future, or even if you're distracted by this constant influx of emails into your inbox, you are not doing as good of work as you would be if you were working undistracted, right? So the quality of your work suffers when you are not acting in the present. So there are a few ways that I know of to really get that kind of humming like a well-oiled machine, so to speak. So the first is meditation is a really great tool to help you practice being present right now. If you don't know how to meditate or you've kind of fallen off the wagon, I've got a great guided meditation for you on my website. It's available for download, so pop over there, check it out. It's going to be really great for you. It's actually designed for people to use after work when they really want to release their day, but you can use it at any time of the day. So use that to your advantage. It's a great free resource for you. Next is to focus on eliminating distractions. And there is a great technique that I use called the Pomodoro technique. I just absolutely love it. It's the shit. So you can go to Google, type in Pomodoro technique, exactly how you would think about it, like the pasta. And they have a website, they've got a Wikipedia page, you can read all about it. It's a great strategy for maximizing your productivity, eliminating distractions, and really getting shit done in a focused way. So that is the second part. And then the next is, I had mentioned, this isn't about not having goals, but it's about having clear goals and being strategic about what you're doing now to get to where you want to go. I was always kind of just thinking about that next thing. And so I ended up kind of being all over the map and, not really doing the best that I wanted to be doing right now. So you can really leverage your goals and where you want to get and kind of backtrack and do the things now that will get you there. All right, I'm going to take some water because my throat's getting a little sore. All right, perfect. And last but certainly not least, so the very last one, we're going to actually explore this in a lot more detail in the next webinar, but I think it's so important. So one of the things that I've learned, and I've seen this time and time again with the clients that I work with, is that you will never be truly successful if you are not taking care of yourself emotionally, physically, nutritionally. It's just not going to happen. If your health is not a priority, you cannot operate at your optimal capacity, and you don't have the energy to do the things that you want. You don't have the confidence to do the things that you want. For me, I was suffering from chronic stress. I had daily headaches. I had trouble sleeping. I had this tired but wired feeling at night where I was like so tired all day long, and I'd go and it would be bedtime and I'd lay in bed and I'd be really tired, but then my mind would start racing like, oh my God, I have all these million things to do. Like, how am I going to do them all? And also, I would be like replaying different conversations in my head. Like, well, she said this today. Like, what do you think that meant? I would just be going, and it would be like this wired feeling, and I wouldn't be able to sleep. And then the next day I would have trouble getting up, and it would be this vicious cycle that would just repeat over and over and over again. And it was really detrimental to my health. Sleep is very, very important. So when you're not getting quality sleep, that can really harm you and your ability to think clearly, your ability to operate at your optimal capacity, and also to really have the confidence to step up and ask for the things that you feel you deserve. So that is number 5. So let's summarize those for you really quickly. So number 1 lesson that I learned is that you are always in control of the choices that you make and the happiness and the joy that you bring to your life. It's not always easy to do, but it is absolutely 100% in your control. Number 2, it's a jungle gym, not a ladder. You have absolutely every opportunity to be creative, to explore, to, zip around and figure out what the heck you're doing. It's not just about getting to the top as quickly as possible anymore. It's just not. Number 3, enhance your strengths. Don't focus on your weaknesses. Figure out how you can bring your strengths to the table in better and different ways every day. Number 4, be present now. Don't just focus on the next thing. Focus on what you're doing here and now and how that's really going to help you achieve your goals down the road. And number 5, your health is absolutely critical to being successful in your career and in your life. It is one of the most important, if not the most important things to really ensure that you are successful at work, that you are living a happy home life, that you're there for your family and your kids, you name it. Your health is the cornerstone of that. And it's something that so often we overlook, sadly, because it's like something we take for granted and we really shouldn't. So those are my top 5 things that I learned in hopping off of the corporate ladder. And I hope that you found them beneficial. I know that for me, it's taken me a long time to get to this place where I'm able to share these things because they've just been in process. And now that I know them, now that I have these tools, I'm able to really help other people to implement them at a much faster rate than I was able to do myself. So I'm just about ready to open up the live Q&A, and I know that there's a little bit of a delay there. So if you want to ask some questions, you can definitely pop over and ask them in the question box now. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to load them up. And while we do that, I just wanted to share with you, I don't know what brought you here. I don't know, if it's that you're miserable in your current job or you're just feeling like you wanted something more out of life, or you felt like you were meant to do something more, or, maybe you are just so stressed and you don't know what to do, and you feel like you look around and you're like, everyone is happy doing what they're doing, and why not me? That's how I felt, like always unsatisfied. I don't know what it was that led you here, but I want you to know that I'm absolutely here to support you in creating a career and a life that you love. I'd like to share with you a couple of the results of some of the women that I've worked with one-on-one to help them achieve what they want to achieve. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about them. And I love talking about my clients because they're near and dear to my heart, and they're women just like me. And so the first woman I want to tell you about is Caitlin. And Caitlin came to me. She was just miserable in her job. She'd been there for probably, I want to say like 8 years. So she'd been there for quite a long time. It was, if not her first job out of college, it was definitely kind of up there. So she felt this sense of loyalty there, but she also was miserable. She didn't connect with her manager. He was very negative. She had trouble communicating with him. And beyond that, she worked long hours, and then she also had a really long commute on top of that. And she had a husband and a daughter at home who she didn't get to spend really any time with, because, she was working and she was commuting, and then she'd get home and she'd just be exhausted, and it would take like all her energy to put dinner on the table and, then kind of veg out for the night. And, for her, we talked a lot about what her ideal role would look like and could she leave her job. And she was really reluctant to leave her job because she was wanting to have another baby soon, and she didn't want to give up her maternity benefits or anything like that. So she was feeling really stuck. And that's okay if you feel like that. For her, what we focused on was her mindset and her communication. So we figured out ways that she could take control of situations instead of feeling like a victim of those situations. And we also identified ways that she could more clearly communicate with her manager and really be heard in those conversations, because she never felt like she was being heard before. We also worked on kind of identifying how to define a unique role for her, because that opportunity presented itself while we were working together. And then once we kind of got through what was really weighing heavily on her, which was her job, we were able to dig a little bit deeper and talk about some of the health issues that she was having. She kind of complained that she had what I think most of us feel like we have, 10 more pounds to lose. I hear this all the time from women, no matter where you're at, no matter what weight you're at, you've got 10 pounds to lose, allegedly. Probably you don't. I think you're probably beautiful right now as you are, but I hear it time and time again. And for her, we got to focus on how she could make healthy meals really quickly and things that she could incorporate to give herself more energy, to keep her fueled throughout the day and help her get home and enjoy time with her family. And just fast forward a little bit. So she worked through my 6-week program and had a really great experience. And 6 months later, she just sent me an email and she said, oh my God, I know that my job was like my biggest issue and I just wasn't ready to leave, but I got laid off and it is the best feeling ever. I feel like now I have all the tools to be able to figure out what it is that I want to do. And I have a really great severance package. So I just have time off to spend with my family and to relax and enjoy. And, I shared with her, I don't want to take the credit for this because I think that you did this for yourself, but I definitely believe that the work that we did together and her identifying really what wasn't working in her life and what she wanted was critical to actually losing her job and getting a severance package and being able to move into a better place. So really awesome story about her. Next is Julia. So similar situation. She had a job actually that she really loved the work that she was doing. But again, she had a manager that she just couldn't connect with. She couldn't communicate with him. And he had like this negative demeanor and, everything was all doom and gloom and she really just couldn't do it. But she also felt trapped, although for a different reason. So she was the manager of a team and she felt this sense of loyalty to her team. Like she was there to mentor them and to nurture them and she didn't want to leave them. And what she and I ended up working on together was identifying how, staying in that position was not serving her or her team because she wasn't living up to her full potential in that role. And one of the first things that we did was she up-leveled almost immediately from her job to a new role, a similar role at a different company where she had a manager that she gets along with really well. She has more flexibility and it's just generally a better work environment. And so like that for her was the crux. And then again, we got to focus on some of those health issues. So she had some unique health concerns, which we worked through how she can meal plan when she's really busy and what she should be eating to support herself and how she can fit in exercise and get to the gym and what that should look like. So we started to kind of streamline and simplify her life so that she could fit some of these other things in. And then last but not least, I want to tell you about Sarah. So Sarah was someone that I connected with pretty quickly. She and I had a lot in common. So we both worked in environmental consulting and had since left. And she had gone on to I believe it was a nonprofit. So much more kind of work-life balance-esque. So career was not really her focus area. Right. She actually felt pretty confident there. But what she was really lacking was some drive and some motivation to do the other things in her life that she wanted to do. And she shared with me that, she would get home at night and she would just be exhausted and she'd basically just crash out on the couch. And meanwhile, there were all these other things in her life that she wanted to do. She wanted to be more social and she wanted to be engaging with her friends more often outside of work. She wanted to be running again. She loved running, but she wasn't running because she was really low energy and she wanted to be volunteering her time. And so she was actually a pretty healthy eater, but what we did was make a few key tweaks to her diet. And she identified almost immediately that her energy just like boosted through the roof. And she was like, holy crap, like I don't come home and like crash on the couch anymore. Like now I have all this extra time. Like what am I going to do with it? So we worked on strategizing what it was that she really wanted to create in her free time. What did it look like? How does she make the time for it? How does she simplify the other things in her life so she has time to do the things that she wanted? And that was a really exciting transformation because it wasn't necessarily career driven, but there were things, like all of us, we have other things just outside of work that we want to do. And we just don't always feel like we have the energy or the motivation to get them done. And sometimes it can be just a simple tweak. And then it's all about, kind of strategizing and prioritizing and figuring out how to maximize your schedule to make that stuff happen. So what all these women did was go through my 6-week program. This is a program that is kind of outlined on my website, but as you probably have recognized in what I'm sharing, none of these women had the same exact issue. What I do is tailor this program for every single woman that comes through here. One of the first things we do is figure out, where are you struggling and where do you need help? And we kind of create a game plan around that and fit in the other pieces kind of as we can. So if you are feeling like you're ready for that kind of support and you need that kind of support in your life, I want to encourage you to head over to my website right now, stephaniecookwellness.com, scroll down on the homepage, and you'll see like two little graphics side by side. And one of them says schedule a discovery session. I want you to click on that one. It's a complimentary 30-minute session. I want you to schedule it with me today. So go ahead, click on that box. It'll take you to my scheduling tool, and you can schedule your appointment, and we will get on the phone. When you fill out your information, make sure you include your phone number so I have a way to reach you. Unfortunately, it doesn't let me select that as required, which is so silly. But anyway, go ahead and schedule it, and we will connect. So that will be really awesome. And we can decide, if I'm the right person to support you and how to get you the support that you need. So that being said, let's move on to our Q&A. So I've got a couple of questions here. I don't see any submitted on the website, but that's okay. Sometimes people are a little bit timid about asking questions. So I have a few that were submitted via email. So I'm going to go through them. So the first is, how did you transition from one career to another, and was it difficult? And, I won't say that it was difficult, but it was scary, right? It was completely different. I was doing things that I'd never done before, and I'm used to kind of doing things that I'm good at. So when you go into a new venture and you're not sure if you're going to be good at it or not, it can be scary, right? So I was definitely scared, but it wasn't difficult. I think I was a little bit strategic in my process. So what I did was identify, these are the things in my background. These are the skills, kind of the broad skills that I have. So, as an engineer, for example, I was very good at analyzing data. I was good at writing technical reports. I was very detail oriented. I was very process oriented. So I looked for things that used those skills. And because those skills are not, universal to engineering by any means, and I was able to find a couple of different roles that really use those skill sets. And then, with each new position that I tried, I had an additional kind of set of skills that I picked up that I could then utilize for the next search. So think about what your kind of skills are in the role that you're doing right now and what you're really good at and how you can transfer those to other jobs. I guarantee you that they're transferable. People tell me all the time, like, oh, but I have an engineering degree. Like, I can't do anything else. Like, you can. I'm proof of that. Don't let your degree limit you. You are way more than your degree. You're way more than that job that you have right now. You can do anything that you want to do. It's just a matter of setting your mind to it and making shit happen. All right, that's my PSA right there. Next question. So if I'm unhappy at work, do I need to quit my job? What if I hate a new job more? This is a really great question, and I get asked this all the time as well, because, the grass is always greener on the other side, except sometimes you get over there and it's not really greener. Right? Kind of sucks. Unfortunately, you never are going to know unless you try. So that's the first thing I'm going to say. You're never going to know if it's going to be better or worse unless you try. The good news is, once you've taken that initial leap, if the next step sucks, like, you just find something else. And it's really not that bad. But in general, the other thing that I will say, and, this is kind of step one in the lessons learned, is that you can create your own happiness and your own success. So if you are afraid to leave your job or not ready to leave your job, there's an opportunity for you to take ownership of creating something different in the role you're in now, whether that is negotiating a new salary or new work terms, whether that is getting involved in a new project or switching roles, again, cross-training with other employees, whatever that might be, take ownership of that process and step into that space, right? So you can do that now at your current job. If you move to a new job and you hate that, you can do that there. That is always, a possibility for you. The last thing about that I will share in my own personal experience, when I quit my engineering job, that was probably the toughest one for me to leave because I felt very connected to it. And I felt like, oh, I'm an engineer and I have this degree and I'm just throwing it away. And, what am I doing? And when I really stepped back and thought about, what opportunities exist here for me? Can I redefine myself? I felt like I had created such a specific name for myself. I had really created expectations that people had for me that I didn't think that I could recreate. I thought I had kind of worked myself into a corner. So if you're in that position, I would say, yeah, if you feel like you're not in a position where you can redefine yourself, definitely it's time to start thinking about your next opportunity. But if you're not, if you have some leverage and if you have the opportunity to kind of move around within an organization, you already know what you like or what you don't like about it, and you can kind of fix that. So that is my long answer to your question, what to do if you're unhappy at work, should you quit your job or not. That is it for the questions that I have. So I'm just going to wrap up here with a couple of takeaways for you. So last week I gave you some affirmations and I'm going to do the same today. So I'm going to read them to you. And if you have a pen and paper, you can write them down. Otherwise, I will be emailing them out after the webinar. So don't even sweat it at all. So the first one, I am the architect of my life. I build its foundation and choose its contents. Next, my body is healthy. My mind is brilliant. My soul is tranquil. Love that one. And last, this one's great too. I possess all the qualities I need to be extremely successful. That's great. Make sure you write that one down for sure. Put that on a Post-it note, put it on your mirror, look at it every day and think about how freaking awesome you are. That one's cool. I'm going to write that one down and put it on my mirror too. So I will be sending those out to you via email. So don't worry about it if you didn't get them written down. Next, I want to make sure that I never did this process alone. I always had support. So if you're feeling like you're alone or you need support and you're not sure what to do, reach out, schedule that discovery session. Go to stephaniecookwellness.com, scroll down the homepage, click on the free discovery session image and schedule your appointment. You literally have nothing to lose. And last but not least, I want to make sure that I invite you to part 3 of our series. So we are going to be talking more about health. And really specifically, we're going to be talking about the hidden signals your body is sending when your career is misaligned. And that it's going to be a really awesome topic. We're going to get to deep dive into some of these health issues that are, across the board, I see women have when they're really career driven and really focused and kind of take the focus off of themselves. So it's going to be great. The one thing I want to make sure to share with you guys is, you talked and I listened. I know that this lunchtime seminar time was not really working for a lot of people, and I would love to get more of you on live. So what I'm going to do is host the next webinar either in the evening or on the weekend. I'm not 100% sure which yet. But you will know as soon as I know, and we will go from there because I would love to have more of you on live to share and get it going. So thank you guys for everyone who was able to join live. It's been a really, really great time. I'm so excited to have had this opportunity to share with you. And I'm really excited to be working with some of you in discovery sessions and to be talking next week about how we can be healthy and career driven and have a life that we love, because they're all critical. So have a great week. And remember, be the exception, Love you guys, and we will see each other soon. Bye-bye.